Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. Game week 8 is done. We're now in the midst of an international break, so we'll focus on those injuries on players who could potentially carry over to the next round of fixtures. Now, we'll start with Tottenham, and Ben Davies was absent from the Spurs squad that faced Leicester on Saturday. Now, Antonio Conte confirms that was an injury that was picked up in the Champions League against Sporting. Now, he picked up a knock in the first half of that Champions League tie. He did manage to complete 90 minutes. However, post-match evaluations revealed what they say is a hairline fracture just below the knee. Now, they believe that it isn't too serious and that he should be ready for game week 9, which I understand is the North London derby. Now, Clement Lenglet has been playing on the left-hand side of that three, so maybe the pressure to rush Ben Davies back for that game isn't as great as it once was. Of course, he's out of the upcoming internationals. A couple of other little bits of tactical tweaks within that Tottenham lineup at the weekend. We've seen Ivan Perisic switch over to the right-hand side, with Emerson Royal dropping to the bench, Sessegnon starting on the left. Lots of questions with regards to the availability of Matt Doherty. He is fit and ready to play. However, he has been struggling to find that little bit of form, that little bit of sharpness since that knee injury curtailed his campaign last season. So that was the reason as to why he didn't get the nod at the weekend. We also seen Kovalevsky come in for Heung-min Son, but his cameo from the bench, which returned a hat-trick, this surely means that the South Korean will be back in that three-pronged attack once again. Now, really, it's going to be a toss-up between, you would think, Richarlison and Kuletti for that third starting berth behind Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. For Newcastle, lots of questions with regards to updates for Alan Saint-Maximin. Unfortunately, he suffered a slight setback in his recovery from a hamstring problem. That's the same hamstring injury that he suffered against Wolves. Now, Eddie Howe wouldn't give any guarantees on whether the French winger would be back in time for game week 9. That remains to be seen. However, there was a lot better news with regards to Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson's coming off the back of his own muscular problem, and we know he has a checkered injury past. And Eddie Howe said he was very close for that Bournemouth game, but they decided to err on the side of caution and keep him out the fire line, on the understanding that he'd get another solid 2 weeks of training under his belt. Now, how could that change things going forward? Well, he certainly hasn't ruled out the prospect of playing new signing Isak and Wilson together. Wilson would play more off the shoulder, central, and Isak could potentially go out wide, as he did when Chris Wood came on at the weekend, or he could play slightly deeper. Is that the style of player, Isak, maybe, again, better when we're playing away from St. James's Park with his pace to break through those lines. Elsewhere within that Newcastle squad, also questions about that back four. We've seen Sven Botman rested after picking up a knock. That allowed Dan Burn to come in the side, and fully deserved and justified. He's been superb since his arrival from Brighton. But once Botman, you would consider Shaw and Botman as being those first choice central pairing. So maybe the Dan Burn and Matt Targett conundrum raises its ugly head, and it's a close one to call. I think maybe Targett, the fact that he is a natural left-sided player, more used to playing up and down that wing, he may get the nod, but like I say, it would be very unfortunate for Dan Burn. The visitors on the day, on Saturday, Bournemouth, they had two surprising absentees. Ryan Fredericks, he's had a bit of a disastrous time since arriving down there at the Vitality, struggled with a number of problems and had another setback in training. And it was also the absence of Lloyd Kelly, which allowed Senesi, new signer Senesi, to come in, the Argentine, at centre-back. Now, we haven't had anything official from interim boss Gary O'Neill. He said that assessments are still ongoing. However, I understand that it is a knee problem, potentially MCL involvement, and it could be quite serious. So we may be looking at several weeks on the sidelines there. I don't know if the Cherries players are attracting much interest, but since that 9-0 drubbing at Anfield, they're now on a 3-match unbeaten run, and things are certainly improved since Scott Parker left. Manchester City, Calvin Phillips, the latest in his ongoing shoulder problems. They go back to 2020. In May 2021 is when he dislocated. Now, ideally, I suspect he would have chose to have surgery at that point. But unfortunately, because of those delayed Euro 2020s, he didn't. He was selected for the England squad, and they decided to try and manage that problem conservatively. He's had a couple of setbacks since. More recently, that charity fundraiser for Barcelona, following his return, had an awkward fall in training, hurt that again. Now it looks as if basically the club doctors have said, we're going to need a surgical intervention on that. Now that calls into question massively his availability for the World Cup. But for me, and for the player and the decisions internally, it's probably a no-brainer. Calvin Phillips hasn't started a game since his arrival from Leeds in the summer. I think he has one Premier League minute under his belt. So, you weigh up the decision. Is that because of Pep's tactical decisions, or is it because of this shoulder problem and how it's maybe impacted on his fitness, etc.? So the fact he wasn't playing in the league and the shoulder isn't getting any better, I think they'll take that decision to go under the knife, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we may see Calvin Phillips ready and fighting for his place in the squad during the World Cup. Otherwise, Gareth Southgate may have to look elsewhere. For Arsenal, they got back to winning ways against Brentford. We had heard from the Ukrainian FA prior to the game that Zinchenko had been withdrawn from the international squad with a calf problem. That's not believed to be serious. So game week 9 and the North London derby is a realistic target. However, we've got Kieran Tierney in there who can deputise if he isn't quite right. And also Martin Ødegaard, he was pulled out again with another problem. Now, he picked that injury up around about 7-8 days ago. He was involved in light aspects of training, but again, Mikel Arteta didn't want to take any risks with that, and that afforded the opportunity maybe for Fabio Vieira to come into the squad and also score. And Thomas Partey was also back after his thigh problem. Now, fingers crossed he gets through this international break without suffering another setback. He's going to be big for that Gunners midfield. For Everton, Frank Lampard said he would make a late decision with regards to the involvement of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and he sort of implied that it was more around a potential start for the striker as opposed to including him. However, his absence from the squad was questioned at the weekend, but Lampard dealt with any issues regarding a setback or recurrence or re-injury with a straight bat. And he just said he just wanted to take this international break as an opportunity to get more training in those legs of his. Of course, for the last 13 to 14 months, we've had ongoing problems with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and plus the arrival of Neil Maupay does ease that burden. And of course, they got the win. So, the end was justified by the means. Now, elsewhere within that Toffee squad, we've seen the return of Doucouré. So he, again, should benefit from 2 weeks on bench. And Idrissa Gueye, he came in for Tom Davies. So that midfield is looking pretty good. Jordan Pickford, clean sheet from Asmir Begovic. Now, at best, we're looking at game week 9, which is Southampton. If not, and I'm feeling it maybe going closer towards this, game week 10, Everton face Manchester United. Now, that might be a more realistic target for the England goalkeeper. We know that that was a thigh problem aggravated during the Merseyside derby, and what you don't want is defenders second-guessing their decision-making process when involving the goalkeeper if Jordan Pickford isn't 100%. So, like I say, if there are any concerns and any niggling doubts, then I do expect Begovic to start in game week 9. And finally, the Friday night game at Villa Park, Aston Villa versus Southampton. An absolute travesty of a game. Killed me, that one. Boubacar Kamara, that's, his injury setback and knee problem. Steven Gerrard admitted that he is worried by that, and we're waiting for the results of the scan. Again, that looks like an MCL problem. Worst end of the scale, we could be talking possibly 2, maybe even 3 months on the sidelines. At best, I think we're still looking around maybe 3 to 6 weeks with that, but we're waiting for something definitive from the club. Like I say, post-match comments from Steven Gerrard said he was worried. However, and hopefully, sometimes they're not as bad as initially anticipated. So that's it for now. We will continue with content during the international break. There will be no injury updates unless there's something massive over the next sort of 2 to 3 days. Otherwise, we're going to be focusing on different aspects with myself and both the Statman, Jason McKenna, giving you some insights ahead of this run-in up until the winter break and the Qatar and World Cup. So that's it for now. See you all again very soon.